Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Living Life at Life View. I am your host, Dr. Veronica Garcia, joined by an amazing co-host.
Yes, I'm Erin Gilligan, and today we are interviewing Kevin Tran, student researcher. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's good to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Kevin, tell us a little bit about Kevin before we dive into research. Who Kevin is, where is he from, how did he get into chiropractic?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm actually a second generation chiro. My dad's a chiropractor. He went to school in LA, South California University of Health Sciences.
Yeah.
So he was more of a mechanistic school, not a lot of philosophy. Mm-hmm. So going from that to Life University is a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
But I grew up around chiropractic my whole life.
Yeah.
I was adjusted as a kid, me and my whole family. And I was in his practice a lot. Mm-hmm. I saw how he affected people. I saw how a lot of those patients became family members. And we'd have tios and tias giving us tamales and coming to our birthday parties. And we get Christmas presents from the same people every year. We help them when they need help. And they're always there for us as well. And that's what really drew me into chiropractic. It was supporting people in times of need and allowing them to enter your life and become a big family. I think that was the most appealing thing. So growing up and seeing that, I knew immediately that's what I wanted to do. So ever since I was like 4 or 5 years old, my dad was my hero, and I said that's what I want to do, and it's been a straight path ever since. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like that sense of community is what you really tapped into.
Yeah.
So what started your interest in research and your interest in getting involved in that community?
Yeah, so me and my siblings are all very academically oriented. So we always were like pretty much overachievers in terms of academics. And one thing that when I got to chiropractic at this point in my academic life, it was, I know what chiropractic is and I enjoy it, but for academically, the other perspective is in healthcare is like the medical paradigm and their perspective on us. And I said, why is there such a big discrepancy between the two? And really it's because we don't speak their language in terms of research, statistics, and numbers.
Yeah.
They're very data oriented. They call themselves very evidence based, and we don't have a lot of that evidence yet. So I said, why don't we have that yet?
Yeah.
That piqued my interest. Why can't we defend ourselves like they can defend themselves?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of drew me in.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of phrasing it. We don't have that evidence yet in the chiropractic, but we're getting there. And I think there's more, conversation happening around getting that started and keeping that going in chiropractic.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we do take some just basic startup classes within research. You're now in clinic. You are halfway through the program, or a little bit over halfway?
A little over halfway.
Over halfway through the program. How would you say when did you start the research track itself, and how do you think it's been affecting your experience in clinic right now?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I think it was third quarter in that first research class when I had that little peak of interest, and I emailed Dr. Kwan and I told her I was interested and tell me more about what I can do, how I can get involved. And she connected me with my faculty advisor right now, Dr. Brent Russell. Yeah. So she connected us, and we've been talking and working ever since. I think fourth quarter, I started the RISE program, and I've been doing the RISE program ever since. So I helped Dr. Russell with his projects, and I kind of do a little bit of everything. So data collection, data analysis, going to the conferences, and all the rest of it. So ever since that point, I've been pretty invested into the research, and it made the experience in class very interesting. Like a lot of my classmates kind of came to me for tips and tricks and advice because there's other research classes, but also because they're just curious about what I was doing.
Yeah.
They're curious about how they can get involved and how they can become involved in my own study. And it was really kind of fun to have my friends and classmates kind of chip in when they can. So.
Awesome.
And do you feel like people are getting more excited about research in your class?
I think so, yeah. I think a lot of them dread the class itself, but when they see like the actual results, then they get excited, right? So the process they kind of shy away from, but they're starting to.
That's just like becoming a chiropractor. The process is long. The program, it's not easy, and it's not meant to be easy. Right? We're training professionals. We're training amazing healthcare providers, and just helping them get there, right? So the process can sometimes be a little bit dreading, but you find the sparkles in the process that kind of keep you going, keep the fire going, and then the end result is that's it. Like it's living that often, right?
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about, you mentioned the RISE program you started on fourth quarter. From a student perspective, what has the RISE program done for you? What is that? And how have you kept up with it?
So the RISE program is a program research track. So there's pretty much 2 tracks you can go. You can go on the individual research student track where you host your own project, you have your own ideas, and you pursue that goal. RISE project is you have a faculty advisor, in a sense, that is doing their own research, and you're there to support them, where you can still be involved. One thing that was really, really nice, because as a student, and I've been a student for like my whole life, so the broke student thing is no joke. So the scholarship was really nice, because that allowed me to dampen the loans a little bit. So that was one big motivating factor. The second thing is, once for the RISE scholarship, if you really connect with your faculty advisor, then it makes everything else really, really easy and more entertaining and more fun. So me and Dr. Russell, we get along really well, and we see each other pretty regularly, and we talk pretty regularly for the project and off the project. So it's been really fun. It's been really nice. Yeah.
That's great. And can you talk a little bit about your project and where you are, where you started, and where it is now? Because it's been a number of quarters.
Yeah, so my research falls under the basic science category. It's a force study, so we're measuring newtons. One big thing about Life University and like the draw towards it was so advanced technologically with like the anatomage tables and the PAT mannequins. And we also have something called a force plate. So in the PAT lab in CCE, we have a Burtec force plate embedded into a chiropractic adjusting table. So we can measure forces imbued into the table picked up by that force plate. So it's pretty cool. You can measure S to I force, A to P, L to M, all those different forces. So it's like 3-dimensional force. So it's really advanced and it's really expensive, but it's really cool. So we're comparing that force to a new piece of technology we received from a company called Novell. They have single smaller like load pads that they can wrap around fingers or piezoforms or hands. So the original plan was to compare the forces produced by cervical thrust that is administered from the actual hand contact point compared to the force being received by the patient.
Wow.
So we're comparing like how much force are we giving off and how much force are they receiving. So that's what the initial plan was.
Right.
And then before we got to that point, we're like, we should test our new equipment to make sure it even works.
Sure.
And with our Burtec force plate as our gold standard, we said, this measures X amount of newtons, this should still be X amount of newtons on this side. And we realized that's not the case at all. And so for the past like 9 months, we've been down a rabbit hole of testing these and comparing these. So now the study so far has shifted to why aren't these matching?
Interesting.
And that's been like the majority of our study so far. So we're like not even at step 1 yet. We're like still in the process.
That ends up being an invaluable question too to ask. To pivot with that and try to find new reasons for what's happening here.
And it's really important to just bring congruency. It's great that you brought that question first to, okay, before we even start measuring this, let's see if our equipment is kind of communicating one with the other, but also just bringing just gold standard congruency across the border so that your results for the next stages are reliable, are congruent, are measurable to the extent that they should be.
That's right, yeah.
So Kevin, you brought some of this research to a conference recently, is that correct?
Yes. So it's the ACC-RAC, people call it the ACRAC. It was in San Diego this past March, and I attended with Dr. Russell, and we actually presented at the Basic Sciences presentation meeting, I guess. And it was a lot of fun. It was a different experience for sure. It put me out of my comfort zone, made me like step into it. There's a timer situation going on where you have 8 minutes in total to present your entire presentation, and if you go over the time, the presenter guy just kind of stands up and like nudges you out. So we ended like right on time. So it worked out. It was a really cool experience.
Was it 8 minutes for the entire team to present? Or?
Yeah. So our entire presentation done introductions and exiting in 8 minutes.
Wow.
So
had you presented anything before or done any public
not
like that before?
I've always been like pretty decent at public speaking, but not to like in a professional setting like that. Like that was a very different experience for sure.
How would you say you had to prepare for that?
At first, it was me and Dr. Russell communicating, and he said, if you want to, you can do it on your own. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good. We can do it together.
We'll do it at the second conference.
Yeah. So we kind of split up the work and divided. He said, what are you comfortable presenting? I said, I'm okay with doing these slides if you're okay with doing these slides. And then we made our own scripts. We rehearsed it a couple times a day before. And then after that, it was kind of make sure our timing is good, make sure we get our message across. And then the rest was kind of history.
That's awesome. Wow. And what would you say would be some of those highlights besides the presenting, having the opportunity as a student to go to this conference? What would you say are some of those highlights and kind of people that you were able to kind of just be shoulder to shoulder around that inspired you?
Yeah, it was really amazing. There's people from all over the country and all over the world. Mm-hmm. So people from the New Zealand College of Chiropractic were there. So I got to meet people from all walks of life. People who didn't speak the same languages necessarily. And it was a nice melting pot of chiropractic. And the best part was we came for the same purpose, and we came to further the research surrounding chiropractic. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool, especially bonding with different students from different campuses. Mm-hmm. And we can kind of compare apples to apples and say, oh, what are you doing in your program? What are you doing in this program? And then at the end, there was a big keynote speech, and it really gave us a sense of community in the research community, and it gave us a bigger purpose of why we're pursuing research and why it's important to continue pursuing research for the community. So,
would you present again at the end of your research, do you think?
Currently, yeah, we're planning on going to one more ACRAC. Okay. It'll be in between my peak quarters, so I'm not sure that's going to work, but we'll figure it out when it gets there. Right. Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. What would you say is a piece of advice for those colleagues that are interested in getting started with research track, but don't really know where to, or they've never really done research before?
I think the biggest thing is if you're curious, just ask somebody about it, because that's how I started. And I just asked Dr. Kwan. I was like, hey, I'm interested. What can you tell me about it? Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid to ask, just if you're interested. You don't know where that conversation can lead, who you can meet, and what's going to come about it. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is, if you're initially interested, you don't have to take on a whole big project by yourself. You could simply ask to participate in one, and you can see how that works from the participation end. Mm-hmm. And then you can gain a lot of experience that way. Mm-hmm. So recently, for our study, we moved to a thoracic study. So we got a larger load pad that measures force. Mm-hmm. We put that on a pat mannequin that was laying on top of the force plate. And then I had about 8 of my classmates come in, and we recorded all their thrusts.
Wow.
Wow, that's great.
And then all of them now are more interested in the research. So that's one way of opening the door, putting your foot in the door. So
that kind of hands-on really experience with the research. It's very exciting.
Yeah,
make the connection.
It definitely brings value, and same thing with a lot of us that choose to become chiropractic. Most of us have experienced chiropractic before, right? Whether it is from birth or from a later walks of life. A lot of the times we experience chiropractic just like you experience many other things. Dentists go to the dentist before they become dentists. At least. No, but definitely it's a great call of action, and it's really inspiring to see you and being in clinic and truly just pouring back into chiropractic as early on as you are. So thank you for taking a step and just believing in yourself and going forth with it, and good luck in all the different processes of it and asking questions and getting some of those answers.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's been great, Kevin. I really enjoyed talking to you.
That was awesome. It was a blast.
Good. Thank you for being here, Kevin. Good luck in the rest of the quarter. Be amazing. Keep rocking it. Keep rocking at clinic, and keep rocking at research, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you guys on the next episode of Living Life, A Life View. Bye.
Bye.